Hey Hearties, it's your girl Brand here. Thank you for tuning in to Mo's and May's Baby. Today I'm going to take you on a cooking trip. So I'm going to be making some dirty rice and some green beans, and I made some jerk chicken. I cooked that outside on the grill. So don't forget, if you like my vibe, please like and subscribe to my channel. Okay, let's get started with cooking. So when I do cook, I like to start. I'm sorry for not being able to see the stove. I'm working on trying to find an angle, so just please bear with me. Um, so when I like to cook, I make sure I like to cook in a clean kitchen first of all, and I like to make sure I have some dish water going so that I can clean up as I go along. And if you don't know, I'm a single mother of four with 12 grandchildren, ranging from the age of 23 to 4. And I have retired a year and a half ago, and I'm in the new chapter of my life, my new journey to living my best life after retirement. So, just a little bit about how I learned how I got involved in cooking. I come from a family of cooks. My mom always cooked, and although we didn't really cook a lot, I didn't really cook a lot when I was at home because Dad didn't want us to be messing up his food, as he would say. And I took a couple home economics classes when I was in high school, and I don't know when or I developed the love for cooking. I just know that it happened. I have 4 kids, so I had to cook. Somewhere along the line, I learned to enjoy cooking. And when everybody was home, I would take my recipe books to work with me. I worked the midnight shift, and I took my recipe books to work with me. I would always find new, different, exciting recipes to try with my kids. And my kids, thank God, they were not picky eaters, so they were willing to try anything that I made. And as a result, my children, they all love to cook, and they all got something they're really good at doing. So a lot of them just don't bake yet. I have one of my twin boys, he can bake, but he doesn't bake a lot. So my little granddaughter, she's been cooking since she's been 8 years old, and she really enjoys cooking. So I said I got to teach her how to bake so that we can keep it going in the family. So and I'm sure I'll have her. I've had them in the kitchen with me before, doing some cooking. I like to chop up everything that I'm going to be needing at the one time and have everything ready so that when you're getting ready to add it to your pot, you'll already have it handy for you. I know a lot of people are intimidated in the kitchen, but you just take your time. You're not to impress anybody. It's just all about having fun. Don't put so much pressure on yourself about cooking. It's all about having fun and trying new and exciting things. I remember in one of my home ec classes, we had canned some tomatoes, and we ended up making lasagna, the tomatoes into sauce, and made a lasagna. So we were all in our own little group stations, cooking and everything. There was 3 of us, and in each group. And we were making lasagna, and a part of the recipe said, put some of the hot sauce in the bottom of the pan. One of the groups got in the cabinet and found the hot sauce and proceeded to put hot sauce in the bottom of the pan, and the teacher was just like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? And they were like, well, it said to put the hot sauce in the bottom of the pan. She says, the hot sauce, not the hot sauce. So we laughed about that, and that was funny. But I never really cooked a lot when I was at home. But I got married young. I was 19 when I got married, and I had the one daughter already, so I had to learn how to cook. And we actually, my ex-husband was in California at that time. He was in the military, so a lot of my cooking involved me calling my mom and says, "Mom, how do I make this and how do I make that?" Getting a lot of instructions over the phone. And maybe that's where I picked up my love for it, because I always had to cook. I was seemed like I was always in the kitchen cooking, because we had to eat. And as time progressed, I just started trying more and more recipes, and everybody just seemed to enjoy my cooking. I'm not going to tell you that I'm the best cook, because I never said that. I said I enjoy cooking, and people seem to enjoy my meals, the food that I cook. I know a lot of people at work, they were hoping that I was going to be able to sell dinners after I retired, but if you've been watching any of my videos, you know that I've had a few falls and accidents and things like that at work, so my body is not the best. So, to stand up and cook all day, it's really hard on my body, and I pay for it at nighttime. I'm not going to say I don't enjoy it, because I really do enjoy it. I would love to have a supper club where I would, I don't know if you know what a supper club is. It's just where, you get a group of people together, and whatever you cook is what they eat and they share. It's like a community type thing. I would love to have done something like that, but unfortunately, I don't know. Maybe, after, working, if I keep working out and building up my body, maybe I'll be able to do that. But that's definitely a goal of mine. What I would like to do when I retire. But my mom always cooked. She cooked Monday. She cooked Monday through Thursday. She cooked Monday through Thursday. Friday, we always had the lunch meat on Fridays. On Saturdays, she would cook something simple like fish sticks, tater tots, things of that nature, because she always cooked her Sunday meal on Saturdays, because she's going to go to church on Sunday, and she always felt like we should eat early on Sundays when she got home from church. It's kind of hot today, so I'm sweating a little bit. And funny story is, my dad, he used to like to go out drinking and stuff sometimes on the Saturday nights, and he would come back and he would eat my mom's food that she had cooked for our Sunday dinner, and boy would she be upset. She would be cussing before she went to church. Oh goodness, those were some fun times though, fun times. And I learned a lot from that lady. She was a very good mother. She's no longer here with us, but I like to think her spirit lives on in me. I am a lot like my mom. She had a sweet, gentle spirit, but unfortunately, I have a little bit of my dad in me too, and he did not have that spirit that my mom had. So as time went on with the kids and me cooking, I started watching the Food Network channel. I started watching Food Network in about 1999. And I became obsessed with Tyler Florence during that time. Tyler Florence had a show called How to Boil Water and Food 911. And I still like to watch, those past episodes of Tyler Florence. And So watching those shows gave me inspiration and got me to trying new things that I hadn't tried before. Um, I also have an older sister who really enjoys cook. She's a very, very good cook. Um, and I learned a lot of my baking things from her, and well, some of my recipes and stuff too, because I was the family hairdresser, and so sometimes for payment she would cook some food for us. And my kids always wanted her chicken gravy over biscuits, so they liked it so much that I had to learn how to make it. So, and I did. I learned how to make it because it wasn't very hard to make. But, that's why I think anybody can cook if you just have the time. You can't rush through a meal, because if you rush through anything, as long as I've been cooking and making cakes and things like that, if I rush through it, I'm going to make a mistake. And it's not going to come out as well as I would want it to. So right now I am going to put the breakfast sausage in. I made this dish maybe once before, years ago, when everybody was at home. So it's cooking. Must be this is. Let's see. That must not be on properly. So I'm gonna brown some breakfast sausage. I only need about half of this. And I do have a lot of utensils and everything because, like I said, I do love to cook. I don't cook as much as I used to, but guess what? Hopefully that's going to change, and I can take you along the way with me in some of my dishes that I like to create. So, brown sausage meat. So yeah, like I was saying, I loved when I found out about Food Network. Man, I really embraced that channel, and I love to watch the DIY channels as well. But as the years progressed, I started watching things like Giada. I would watch her. I am obsessed with the Pioneer Woman. And lately I've been really drawn to Deliciousness Brown. There's something about her that draws me to her. But I was obsessed with, I am obsessed with the Pioneer Woman. So I love her style of cooking. Her dishes are just like she said, real simple and easy. I always try to steer away from recipes that had so many different ingredients that you had to buy that you wouldn't have in my home already. So if I was looking for a recipe and I had to buy, it had to be a special occasion where I would go and get those things. Because you don't want to get something that's really, really complicated, especially if you're not comfortable in the kitchen. And you don't have to be a chef to cook a good meal. Anybody, I think if you take the time to cook, I'm just adding a little sage to this because I like sage sausages, but I was not able to find them. So And this will add a little sage to that. Gotta add a clove of garlic. Like I was saying, to make things easier when you're cooking, go ahead and prep everything. Like I've already had my shrimps all ready to go. They're cleaned and deganged and washed. And I had my peppers out. Everything that I'm going to use for the recipe, I should have right out here, so it will be easy for me to get to it. And I have a little bowl here where I'm just putting the trash in, so I can just throw it all away when I'm finished. So I remember when I really got into cooking, I had started buying different things to use in the kitchen, because sometimes, you know, being able to make a good meal is having good quality utensils. So when I got my check, like I said, I was a single mom, but when I got my check, I would always make sure I got one nice thing for my kitchen. Depending on the cost, I might be able to get two at the time, but no more than that, so that if I needed a juicer, I had it. You know, I ended up getting my stand-up mixer. You know, so when you take time to buy it piece by piece, you're not out of a lot of money at once, because let's face it, you know, things are expensive. Whether you're a two-parent family household or one, things are very expensive. So, you know, you have to. I wish I'm going to have to get something where you can actually see what it is that I'm doing while I'm cooking. So, hold on 1 second, please. So yeah, so if you just take the time and just get, you know, one nice utensil, it makes all the difference in the world. You know, and you know, I'm not gonna say it's anything wrong with, you know, the Family Dollar pots and pans, because I've definitely used those as well. You know, we have to get what our money can get for us. You know, and we can't get what everybody else has. You know, we can only do what we can do, and we can't compare ourselves to other people. And I think sometimes that's where, you know, we make a mistake. We always try to compare ourselves to someone else. And we can only do what we can do. So, but heck, just, you know, just a little bit of advice, if you can, buy something that's going to last you a long time, especially if you love to cook. It's going to be worth it in the long run. So, like I was saying before, I used to go to work. I always had the 2 days off together. So I would always figure out what I wanted to cook on my days off. And if there was a dessert with that, then when I came home that morning and took a nap, I would get up. I would always go shopping before I came home. I would go straight to the store and get everything that I need. And that way, if there was a dessert that I needed, that I wanted to make, then when I got up from my nap, I could get that dessert started, and we could have that the next day. Like I said, my kids were not picky either, so we tried some of everything. And that's all what it's about, just trying things you've never tried before. Be a little bit adventurous. You know, I can remember for the first time trying calamari. You wouldn't think it was delicious, but fried calamari is delicious. And I found the recipe on Pinterest. I love Pinterest. I love Pinterest, and so I find a lot of recipes on Pinterest as well. And if there's something in it, when you're reading the recipe, if there's something in it that you don't think that you might like, then don't add it. Add something different, or just omit that one thing. And that's all about making a dish your own. It's that's all about cooking, making it your own. Like, a lot of times I will find a couple recipes of the same things, and I will mix and match what I like from one recipe to the other recipe, you know. And you can make the dish your own that way. And so let me see. But other than that, cooking, it's just like I got some meat, I got some vegetables. By themselves, it's nothing. But once you cook it together, you can make something tasty and delicious. To me, that's amazing. And a lot of people say, oh my gosh, you cook. Anything that I do well, I know that God has blessed me to do it. So if that's my blessing, we all have things that we're good at. I may not be good at something that somebody else is good at. So, like I said, we can't compare ourselves to other people. So I need, how much cayenne? I got cayenne pepper. So I'm just mixing up. I got all the seasonings, which is oregano, paprika, cayenne, salt, a couple bay leaves with 1.5 cups of rice. I'll let this cook down a little bit before I add my broth to it. Had to change the angle a little bit so you could see what I was doing here. And like I said, this is, you know, like the second time I've actually made this, and it's been some years since I made this dish. But I'm sure it's going to be amazing. So I've got that. I'm gonna have to try and move around so I can show you different angles. I got my chicken stock, low sodium. Please always get low sodium, because if you get stuff with a lot of salt to it, you know, sometimes your food will become too salty. You can always add more salt. And that was another trick that I learned too from watching some of my Food Network shows. Is I can't remember who it was, and they said that the recipe calls for, let's just say, a tablespoon of salt. Don't put it all in at one time. Put a little bit in the beginning, some in the middle, and a little at the end. And that way, you know, it's not too salty, or it doesn't taste like it has enough salt in it, because it'll be all layered in there. It's all about building layers. So, I gotta bring this to a boil, and then let it simmer and cook. Once it comes up to a boil, I'll let it simmer and cook for about 15 minutes. So So in the meantime, you know, I was telling you about how all my children love to cook. And I can remember as they started getting older, you know, they were in their own places and stuff, and we would have functions. And I said, okay, what are you? Oh, nobody would tell me what to bring. I'm like, well, how come nobody didn't tell me what to bring? Is my food not good anymore? And so I was starting to feel useless, like I wasn't important anymore to them. Things that I do didn't matter. And so I said, you know, I can still cook. I'm able to still cook. And they actually said to me, Ma, you've been doing it for so long. It's time for you to take a break. It's time for you to sit down and enjoy yourself some. And that made me feel a lot better, because sometimes, you know, as we get older, we think that we're not useful anymore, and we want to be useful. And I'm going to say this to my senior friends as well, or anybody who could be having some type of injuries, and where it's hindering them for standing up for long periods of time cooking in the kitchen. You know, on days where my knees or my back is too bad, I'll sit down at the table and chop up some stuff. I'll go to the counter and sit down and, you know, roll out my crackers to make my cheesecake at the table, sitting down. It's all about having fun and enjoying. You don't and find ways that work for us as we age, because we're here to live our best life. You know, this because we're aging doesn't mean that it's the end. We can still be useful. We can still be functional. We can still do some of the stuff we did, maybe not as much as we did when we were younger, but anybody who has any kind of injuries or things like that, you can still do it. You know, you just have to find a different way to do it. So we're going to turn this down. And you see this? I got my little Pioneer Woman dog timer. Oops. Okay, so we will be back to check on that in about 15 minutes. So in this pot right here, I have a little piece of bacon that I'm just going to cook down for a little bit, and I'm just going to add some green beans, some onions and green beans to it, and make just a simple can of green beans pop. I mean, just little touches like that will, you know, make your meals so much better. Okay, so now let's chop up half an onion to put in there with that bacon. You know, just need half of them. So yeah, just to it's not, you don't have to go by a recipe. Like my daughter, she hardly ever uses recipes when she cooks, but she's a really good cook. But now my sons, especially one of my twins, the oldest twin boy, and my oldest son myself, they used to always come and borrow my recipe books so that they could try different recipes. And I tell you though, my one son, I call him the Red. I hate to admit it, but the young man might have me beat. He is very, very close. There's a few tricks I know he don't know, but he's a very good cook. I remember when he first got with his wife, and they invited me over for a meal. He had borrowed one of my books, and he made taco soup he had made. And it was funny because I was over there just the other day, and they still have those bowls that I had got them, and that's been over 13 years ago now. Um, and they still have those fully made taco soup. And it was very delicious. And she said to me, thank you for teaching him how to cook, because I didn't know how to cook. I didn't learn how. I wish I would have paid more attention to my mom in the kitchen when she was cooking, when I was younger, because I think back on some of the stuff she did that I wish I knew, and I was telling my kids about it. And I said, I remember, making candy with my mom. And Shamika always says, you don't remember the recipe? No, I don't. And even my oldest sister, the one day she was talking about how mom used to make the tea cakes. And I'm sure I think those came about in the Depression era, because my mom was definitely in the Depression era. Like I said before, I am the youngest of 10. My oldest sister actually has kids my age and older. I had graduated with one of my nieces. So she was in her late 40s when she had me, so I'm pretty sure I was like a miracle child. And I can remember her saying how sick she was when she was carrying me. And she had to be bedridden for like 6 months, because every time she said she would take a step, she would start bleeding. And so she was bedridden. And during that time, she said, I just knew there was something was going to be wrong with you, because I stayed so sick. And even after I was born, I went home, but my mom still had to stay in the hospital for a while. And so my oldest sister would keep me while my dad was at work. So I'm very grateful to her for watching out for me, so that my dad could still go to work. And she would say, when she saw me, and I was like 8 pounds and 10 ounces, and she was just like, oh no, that's not my baby. And she said, Lily, yes it is, that's your baby. That is your baby. And she was just like, oh no, that baby is just too fine. Because that's what they always say. Oh, your baby's so fine when they're fat and healthy. Oh, they're so fine. And she would say, oh no, that can't be my baby. There's got to be something wrong with my baby. Well, here I am, a true blessing. I always say, they was trying to make perfection. Once they got me, they could stop. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. They finally got that perfection baby. But she had a lot of problems with me, but I am actually still here. She didn't have good luck with a lot of kids. She had a child that passed away from seizures at 12. She never talked about that child. I only found out about him after she passed away, and that's when I found out about him. And my other sister, she contracted polio, so she walked with a limp and things like that. But you know what? And they had pushed her in the room and told my mom she wouldn't make it through the night. But she lived for 60 years, and she had 2 kids and a bunch of grandkids. So nobody knows what's in store for you but God. He has the last say. So, in all honesty, that was my favorite sister. I'm not going to lie, if I have to say, she was my favorite sister. She always had my back no matter what I did. And I really miss her. I went into a little depression after she passed away, but I'm sure that's to be expected. when you lose your loved ones like that. I'll drain off some of the water on these beans, not all of them. Okay, it's time to add these delicious shrimp to the meat. So that looks delicious. And I will bring you up close so you can see it. So this is what the beans are looking like. I'm gonna season them up really quick. And this is what my rice is looking like. I gotta put the top on that and let that finish cooking down. And then we will see what we have. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some seasonings in this. So I have some natural roasted garlic seasoning, and I get this from the Amish store. I don't know if you guys have the Amish anywhere where you live, but they sell some amazing food there. I really love their seasonings, and I love their meat as well. But for the last couple of years, it was a gentleman at work. I'm a country girl, like I said. So there was a gentleman at work, and he actually raised beef, cows. And so we, as a family, we had been buying his beef. So it's you can actually tell the difference on how, in the taste of the food, how the cows were taken care of. So if you have an opportunity to buy from somebody that you know, and you know that they taken care of that animal and what they actually fed that animal, please do so. You're gonna find out there's a different quality in that meat. It's a little different from your regular meat. So, and you know, I was blessed to be able to know somebody like that I could actually put a little pepper in here, and that I could actually buy some meat that was raised correctly and taken very good care of. I remember I was talking about oxtails to one of the gentlemen at work, and he also raised cows, and he didn't know anybody that ate the oxtails, and so he ended up bringing me some, and I ended up cooking them. I like to make a curry oxtail with black beans and corn. Hang on for just a second, please. Hey, handsome. It's going, baby. Nana in here making a video. So this is what it's looking like. We have the dirty rice with shrimp, and I have my green beans right here. Like I said, I grilled some chicken earlier today. That jerk chicken, baby, on the grill. So thank you for tuning in once again to your girl Bryn from O's Amazed Baby. If you like my vibe and my little stories, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'm here to have fun, and hopefully if I can help somebody else along the way who may be struggling with some things, it's a blessing to me. And this is my dinner tonight. I hope you can see it. I'll spin it all the way around. I got my jerk chicken. I got my dirty rice with shrimp. And I have my green beans. And I will take a different photo from the top. And like I said, please bear with me, everybody. Until I can get these angles and stuff straightened out, or get some more devices so I can get clear angles around. But I'm gonna make it work until that time comes, because what they say, the show must go on. So until next time, never let them steal your joy, and let's live our best life. Peace. And like I said, here we go. The jerk chicken that I cooked outside on the grill, that dirty rice with shrimp, and some green beans. Please, you're welcome at my table anytime. When I tell you this food is delicious, it's delicious. You gotta try it. If you want the full recipe, leave me a comment.